Hey, welcome readers to another episode of the Bougie Book Pod. I'm Tara.
And I'm Kira.
And today we are talking about The Heiress by Rachel Hawkins. It is, what did we describe it as? Like a Southern Gothic thriller full of secrets, scandals, and a manipulative matriarch who keeps haunting her family from beyond the grave. As usual, spoiler heavy. We're going to go through all the details, great big summary, character deep dive, and then, talk about some discussion prompts and topics along the way that we thought of while reading the story. So hopefully you have read this book and you are ready to dive deep into it with us.
So this book is interesting because there are a lot of characters involved, and it's heavy on the here's a family with too much money, too much power, and then of course everything goes awry. So I like that it's set in what do they say called, the Blue Ridge Mountains or something. Their state is set in North Carolina, these mountains. It just gives you that, I don't know, I'm thinking of that like Appalachian vibe. Like it's kind of creepy, like they go into the woods, they don't venture in. Yeah,
almost like small town too.
Yes. And it's interesting because the town is so small and they have so much money. The town is like named after their family. So when I say power, it's like heavy. And I honestly don't remember how they got the money.
They do talk about it, and I think it's like great grandpas, that type of thing where they just kind of came into town, build small companies, and just amassed a fortune from there.
I don't remember.
Some of them were really good with their money, and they were able to invest, and I think that's how it all went. But I think she did a really good job of description of the town, because I could see it. I could see the mountains in the background, like this like Main Street village, right? And you could just see it lined with all these little shops that most of their family owned. And it was just like very small town, homey feel.
Yes.
I totally saw it.
She did do a very good job with that. So we have this family, the McTavish family. That's how I said it.
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say.
That's how I said it, yeah.
It seemed pretty simple, but who knows?
I know.
You have the McTavish family, and they just ooze money and power, and they have this beautiful estate called the Ashby Estate, or
the Ashby House?
Ashby House. I couldn't remember if there's an H in it. The Ashby House. And growing up, the main family has two daughters, and at one point, they're having a picnic on the estate close to the mountain area when one daughter is only like 8 months old, maybe? I think one is like super young.
Yeah. And then the other one is around, she's a toddler.
She's a toddler. I don't know if it says exactly.
Yeah, I can't remember. But
so she's a toddler, and next thing you know, they're out there with their nanny. I don't think they really referred to it as a nanny back then. I don't know what they called it. And next thing you know, she has no idea where the toddler is. And that's Ruby. And Ruby is our main character from the grave.
Yeah. You learn about her through letters.
Yes.
And her son's memories of her.
Yes, which is very interesting because you have the chapters alternate between two different point of views. You have Camden, her son, who's married to Jules. And they alternate between their point of views, but then these letters that Ruby has written are sprinkled in. Yeah. Which I really enjoyed.
I did too.
I really liked her letters. Like when I got to it,
I wanted more.
Yes, I did. I liked how she wrote. I was like,
she's very old fashioned. Yes. It reminded me of my own grandma. Like I could imagine these like scandalous type letters coming from her, the way she described people, the way she was like unapologetic about the way she was describing things and what she felt. I really, really liked it. She's just like a no nonsense woman.
Yeah. And the interesting thing with Ruby is she was the toddler that was missing for almost a year, I think.
I think so. No, 3 years. 3 years. That's what it says.
Missing for 3 years. So like tragedy and all this stuff has been since the start for her life. And then her letters reveal just a constant life of tragedy. She has lost 4 husbands. So through all of this, she never actually has a kid. And then she decides to adopt a kid, and that's where Camden comes in. Yeah. And Camden now is, I think in his 30s. Kind of what I was thinking. Yeah. And he lives in Colorado with his wife Jules, and he's living this casual life as a
like
English teacher. And
very frugal type of life.
Just happy with what he has, content. I don't think he planned on like staying in Colorado and settling, but like he's like, oh, this is fine. Like, you know, he's not asking for more.
He has no interest in the family money or the family name, really.
No.
He's very not apart, very, what's the word I'm looking for? He's broken from it.
Yes. He just has no interest, and he likes his life the way it is until all of a sudden his uncle dies. And now he has to go back to North Carolina and actually deal with the house and the money and all these things. And then you've got the rest of the McTavish family that's still alive, who is still ingrained so deep in this. I don't even know what to call it. I don't even want to just say like family and the wealth. Like,
well, I guess it's just like the whole, like the history of this family and the estate that they own, because Ruby inherited everything from the father. The father didn't leave it to like equal parts to two daughters. He left it all to her, which is wild. So that when she passed, it went all to her adopted son. And so the other sister, who's still alive, very old, her children and her grandchildren have this anger towards him of like, why does he get everything and he's not even blood?
And it's interesting because Camden, like, I say allows, like, but he does. He allows them to stay at the house.
Yeah, he pays for everything.
He pays for the house and, you know, the maintenance on it and things like that.
But you can see from their point of view, because they're like, if you don't want anything to do with this family, why don't you just sign it over? Yeah. But Camden also kind of has this sense of responsibility of like, I don't want to live that way, but I know if I hand it over, it will be squandered. Yeah. You do get that sense from the two cousins that he has and the uncle that they would just go through all of that money. Absolutely.
So he and Jules make that trek back to North Carolina, and Jules is so excited, and like, she gets there and she's just like, oh my god, this is amazing, this is great. Yeah. And I don't know if I blame her.
I don't either, because they're living on very meager means. Yeah. In the beginning, it opens up, I think, with her and describing coming home from this job where she works at a museum, which sounds fun, by the way. It does. But she's dressed up as like I can't remember if it was like a pioneer woman or a colonial woman or something. And so she's like using her acting abilities, but then like her interest in the museum, and it just seems like a rough job. She's not making a lot of money. They've got a really tiny house, and then suddenly you learn that your husband
is worth millions at like.
And it's like it's never been brought up. We've never talked about it, and now you're taking me to this estate in the mountains. I mean, it just I would be just as excited. Oh, yeah. And she's feeling a little bummed because she could tell that he's like miserable going back there, but she's like hoping, you know, maybe now that I'm here, we can erase the past. And she's looking at this house like, this is going to be mine.
Yeah, which until you know the past, then I feel like you'd be like, okay, we don't want anything to do with that.
We could just buy a new one.
We'll just sell this and get our own. Yeah. So that's when they get there, and we are so lovely, and like the introduction to his cousins is so bad. Yeah. Ben and what is her name?
I can't remember her name, but I picture her like a trashy Paris Hilton.
I want to say Libby.
That might be right.
Seems like a Libby. Yeah, it is. I saw her name. It's Libby. Okay. Oof. Ben and Libby, and like Libby is this wannabe influencer who just uses her family's money to like own this store downtown. And I don't give Libby like any credit on anything.
No, and the way they describe her is she's like an influencer, and she's kind of hopping from trend to trend.
But she's like too old to be like doing what she is. Yes. Yeah. You're just kind of like, ooh. And then Ben, I can't even remember what Ben does, but all he cares
about. He's a lawyer. He's a lawyer. He's like a lawyer that deals with inheritance and family things like that. Of course, because he's been looking for loopholes ever since he realized that they're not getting the money.
And Ben, from the get-go, you can tell, like, he is going to use all this time to get this estate, get this money, figure out something while they're there. So anyway, it really just continues on, and we have Ruby's letters sprinkled in, and her little memoir, which I really love.
Yeah,
basically,
I think it's the best part of the book.
I do too. It reveals that There's a reason she went through 4 husbands.
Yeah, spoiler.
She's the reason she went through 4 husbands.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one, in some way, shape, or form, she had something to do with their death.
Yeah.
Whether it was directly or she, like, set it up.
Yeah. Now, when you read about the first one, you're kind of like, he had it coming.
Yeah.
I know it's terrible to say, but...
You don't feel for the first
You don't feel for the guy. He beat her.
Yeah.
It was like she didn't envision herself getting married, and then here's this guy come. He's very wealthy too, apparently, and the father was excited to hand her off to this dude. But then he's got a drinking problem. He clearly, I think he's been losing his money, and he's relying on her family money. He beats her. He treats her terribly in front of others, and one night she shoots him.
Yeah, which is like on their really long extended honeymoon,
in
isn't
France.
It?
Yeah.
And like stages it as
an accident.
Yeah, a burglary, I think.
Yeah. So and because she's so wealthy, her dad helped her. Yeah. I think he doesn't know that she did it, but I think the way she writes about it, I think he knew. He just never, like, she didn't confess it to him, but he knew, and so he helped her kind of push that away.
So, and then it goes to the other 3, which, like, some are like she kind of set the scene and she knew that they would do this and that there's a high chance they would die.
Yeah, but it was just crazy because it's like the first one, again, we don't condone murder, but we get it. You understand why that happened, how it happened. She was defending herself in some capacity. Yeah. But then, like, it's almost like she realized, oh, I can do it this way. Instead of just getting a divorce, she just decides this is easier.
Which is really interesting because I can't remember what order it is. There's one husband where she's kind of like, yeah, he's fine.
Exactly. No, I think it was the one that was like really nice. Yeah. He's just...
He like worked for her dad.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, and he was like just nice, but like older than her. Like
she was just, she got the ick, I think.
Yeah, and she was like, he's not good looking, and they got married, and then she got the ick, and was like, and he's such a good guy. I think he's the one that she says something about like wanting to use the barn for something.
Yes, and
but she knows the electrical is really bad.
Yeah, so she sets it up that he'll like get electrocuted and die in there, and that's what happens.
Because he's a good guy, and he wants to go fix it,
and he wants to help her and build something for her. And he had a pet name for her. I can't remember what it was, but every time he said it, she like crumbled inside.
And here's the thing: I get getting the egg, but I don't kill everyone when I get the egg.
No, just get a divorce. Now she's gonna say, like in her letters, like it's the time. I think it's like what, the 50s, 60s, and it would just be such a scandal to get a divorce. But it's like
it's also a scandal like you went through 4 husbands.
Exactly. Or what about the scandal when it comes out that you murdered them?
Oh my god,
that's a scandal.
I felt so bad for that one specifically.
Yeah, because he was a nice guy.
Oh my god, sent.
He was so happy to be with her. He felt like he just got this great prize. But you know what's funny is that you're reading all these horrible things that she does, and you still like her. Yeah. The way she writes about it and the way she describes like her feelings and her attitude towards it, you're like, what a bitch.
I don't think I ever disliked Ruby.
No, I never did.
Like, to the end, I was like...
There were moments where I wanted to talk her out of things, but I never disliked her. Never.
And the interesting thing with Ruby compared to her sister Nell, at least that's how I said it, even though there's an E at the end, I didn't say Nellie, I just kind of said Nell.
Oh, I think I was saying Nellie.
I don't know, but she wants the estate so badly, and she wants to, like, Nell wants to have her father see her in a way, and you get the vibe that Ruby doesn't care that much, but Ruby never leaves.
No.
And that was the one thing that irritated me, is I wanted Ruby to leave.
Yeah, have your own life.
Because she seemed like she was independent enough that she could do it, and I feel like she fell to that house and that estate.
Yeah. Well, it was almost kind of spiteful. Or was it she had such an attachment to her father, and the father loved her so much? I just think it's so awful that he didn't leave or split for the 2 daughters. I don't understand that. But when the daughter got married, they moved in to the estate. Yeah. So they didn't leave either. And it was kind of like the sister was saying, you're going to have to kick me out because I'm not going to leave.
Yeah.
It's very, very interesting. But then I think there was just like this feeling of this house has been in our family for so long that this is where we belong. There's no leaving it.
Yeah, and I think that is a very also generational way, because I don't know who was talking the other day. I was having a conversation with someone and they were talking about how the generations ago, like, families stayed where they all lived. And now we're seeing the generations of the kids leaving. Yeah. Compared to like...
Well, yeah, and I mean, if I think about my own family, and we're not like that old, right? But my parents grew up in the 50s, and until the 80s, when my parents and their siblings were having kids, we all lived in the same neighborhood in the Bronx. Yeah. It took one sibling. She moved a little further out of the Bronx. We were still in New York. Everybody was in New York. And so it was like, I was talking about this with someone the other day, like every first birthday, every communion, every event, the whole family is there. Yeah. But then once us cousins started going to college, I mean, we're all over the map now. Yeah. And there's no coming to like my son's first birthday. I had one cousin who was able to do it, and I thought it was so amazing that she could. Yeah. But it was just like, this is very old school. Again, you have to remember this is the 50s, but it's also money. Yeah. And those types of people like to preserve what they've built and what they have. And it's like a no outsider type thing. And
it also doesn't help that I don't believe Nellie did anything for herself independently.
No, she was very much...
So she had to rely on
McTavish.
Yes. And Libby can't rely on being an influencer / I picture her store like an adult version of like Limited 2.
Yes.
Like
I can see that.
I'm just getting like sparkle and like...
I'm seeing like very like the Lizzie McGuire cartoon. With the sandals and the glasses.
That's in like...
That's Libby.
She's in there trying to sell to people in this small... Like, I just...
And it almost feels like her style doesn't fit where she is in that town. Yeah. It seems like a very like frozen in time type place.
Like Libby is super annoying, but also I just get the vibe that she's too, how do you say it? Like too unaware. Like I don't think she thinks deeply.
No. No.
And she doesn't have the opportunity to do anything else. So she's just there.
She's just trying her best to be pretty.
And I think she just, with her brother Ben being like, oh, I can get this money, I can find this, she's like, okay, I'll stick around and be your sidekick. Yeah. But like, that's my vibe from Libby. And I feel bad because she's probably a nice person.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so, because we get
I know Ben's not, but...
We get to a point where they do like a flashback with Camden, or Cam.
Oh.
And how like she tried to seduce him.
Yeah, that was...
Even though they're cousins, but she was like, but not by blood. Yeah, so, I mean, we could get together. I'm thinking like, you know, I'll have the money that way. And he was like, you don't even like me. She's like, I could. Just like, it just tells you everything you need to know about her. That's how I see it.
She would definitely not kill her husbands. That's for sure.
No, she would not be able to. She needs to ride that, yeah.
So anyway, then, I mean, the book, honestly, for me at least, in the middle, when they're at the McTavish house, it's not really like a whole lot of crazy information for me. It's just kind of like, here's what the family's been doing, here's what they're trying to do, and then I got so excited for Ruby's letters because it just kind of felt like a lot of mystery books. Like the middle was a little more dull.
Yeah, it's just the awkwardness of the family being together in the house. You have the old aunt, and she's like on death's door. Yeah. She's very rude to Cam and his wife. They're all rude to them, and they're just kind of dealing with these people.
It's like Cam and Ben do like maintenance during the day. They have these uncomfortable dinners.
Yeah, super uncomfortable.
And then like Nellie's just roaming around like a ghost, basically. Yeah. Just popping up when she doesn't need to.
And Jules is fantasizing drinking her tea.
Yeah. Like,
looking at the trees. This would be a great way to start the morning.
And then like most mystery books, it's like the last third where like things
get
rolling.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to help me out because I can't even remember chronologically what our first plot twist is, honestly.
Okay, so I guess it's not really a plot twist, but the realization or the confession that she killed all of her husbands. That's like the first big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Then they start talking about they go back to like her trauma of being missing for so long and then coming back, and it was like there's like this theory running in the family that like the dad doted on her so much because it was like a miracle that she came back. And now if I think about it, I think it was just her. I don't think the sister was born yet. I think the sister was born while she was missing.
Oh, you're right.
As like a replacement. But then she came back. And it was almost like they didn't need the replacement anymore. So I think that's why there was always this big resentment between the two of them. But then they start talking about Ruby is trying so hard to remember anything about that time of being missing or even being found, and she can't quite put it together.
Which, honestly, you think back, and I don't know about you, like, my first memories aren't until, like, a certain age. Like, I don't know, I want to say, like, 5 or 6 is when I feel, like, confident in what I could think about.
I do have memories of when I was, like, 3 and 4, and I think I'm just an odd duck because I have a friend that I remember everything, and something will remind me of something, and I'll text her like, "Hey, do you remember when we were in 6th grade and we did da da da?" And she goes, "I have no memory of that." I don't know why I recall these things, but I do remember certain things that stand out because they were almost like traumatic.
See, and that's what I was curious with Ruby, is I wonder if she went the opposite way. Like, it was such a traumatic
and that
event.
could be.
That she couldn't, you know?
That could be. I mean, you would think about if someone stole you for 3 years, you might block that out. But you would think that if you're trying really hard to remember it, that you would. But there was just like certain names that stood out to her. And she went through her dad's things and found the articles about it, and how like this family had found her and they brought her
states
back.
Away, like Alabama.
Yeah, something like that. And they were like, you know, real, I guess I don't know how to describe them. They were just very poor.
Yeah.
Very, they were considered like low class. And they happened to have this great fortune of finding this little girl and getting a reward for her. But then Ruby does mention about how the sister would say things like, you're not a real McTavish, like you're not really Ruby.
Yeah.
And so she had it in her head that, you know, you were just some kid that looked like her. And I think one of the big twists is that you find out she's not Ruby.
But Ruby knew she wasn't Ruby.
For a long time.
Yeah.
And she just let it go.
Yeah. So at one point, I can't remember how they do it. Is it Ben and Nellie get Ruby's DNA? They do a DNA test.
I think so, yeah.
But Ruby's aware of it and intercepts it.
Yeah.
Because they want to try to prove that, like, Ruby shouldn't have the money. And Ruby is she's not maternal.
No.
In any way, shape, or form. So she adopts his son, like, solely to make sure the money doesn't touch Ben and Nellie's hands. Yeah. Just so it can go to her heir, who is Camden. Which is wild to me.
I mean, it is wild. But she lived with these people. Yeah. She saw the way the sister and her husband squandered the money, never did anything of their own. Ruby, meanwhile, she invested in other things. She actually helped that money grow. Yeah. Grew more assets for the family, and she just knew, like Cam, that they're going to destroy this name and this estate and everything that the family built. And she raises Cam in a way that makes him empathetic, makes him kind, smart, even though he hates this kind of like really privileged life because he feels embarrassed by it. She knows that he's the best person to carry that wealth on.
Their relationship to me is like a nephew who's close with an aunt that doesn't have kids. Like that was the vibe.
Well, she was I think she was in her like mid to late 40s when she adopted him. So she was an older mother.
But just not
it
like,
does give off
hey, sweetie, what snack do you want after school?
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm going to teach you the way life works.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I'm going to set you up. Yeah. I'm going to set you up for life. So I'm going to take a detour because when I got to this part of the story, and they kept talking about the back and forth of the idea that she was not Ruby, and then you learn more about her real family, and it turns out that the dad thinking like we could use the money. Mm-hmm. We are in such a bad state that we need the money, and we have another kid, so we could sacrifice this one. It was like such a horrible story.
Yeah.
And the mother at first was kind of on board with it, but then she changed her mind and didn't want to do it. And like the whole agreement was supposed to be that like that family helps their family out. But then Ruby's dad, okay, how do I say this?
The Darnell family?
The McTavish dad, he gets that other dad arrested.
Yeah, so, but he kind of knew, so the Darnell family, Ruby is a Darnell.
Yes.
And we have the McTavish family, and the Darnell dad, the one that was poor, that family, who he was like, just take our kid, but like, we're gonna get some money out of it.
Yeah.
Mr. McTavish had told him that like, there's like a story's gonna come out, you may be arrested, because it was like, the story was the Mr. Darnell was working in the area in North Carolina and basically took her.
Yeah, they orchestrated this whole big thing.
But he said, Mr. McTavish said, when you get arrested, I know people, I have money, I'm going to get you out. Mm-hmm. That was the deal. And he never. Actually, I think he made it worse. Like, Mr. Darnell was arrested and I think executed.
I think so. Killed. Yeah. And then the mother was so upset that she burned the money.
Yeah, she didn't want anything.
She didn't want anything to do with it. She just wanted her.
She just lost her husband and her daughter.
Yeah, and she wanted her kid back. And of course, they shut her up and they hushed it all up. And so Ruby has a real sister who knew the whole story and was kind of always wondering when you were going to come and find these things out. So I'm reading this, and it was reminding me of this story. And Kira says she'd never heard of it, but it's called the Bobby Dunbar case. I just maybe about a couple months ago heard about it on one of my podcasts. I think it was Morbid. I love Morbid. Anyway, so this little boy, I think he was a toddler. I don't remember how old he was. He was a toddler, 4 years old, I think, in 1912, and his parents were very wealthy. And they took him on a fishing trip in Louisiana. Think swamps, okay? And they were also camping there. The last time they saw him, he was playing near the water. And then the mom thought somebody was paying attention when no one was paying attention. And then next thing you know, Bobby's missing. And it's swamps of Louisiana. He's 4 years old. There's alligators everywhere. They because they had money and they had influence, they like dredged all the swamps. They even found several alligators. They cut the alligators open. No trace of them eating a little boy or anything. But so that's when the family starts thinking, okay, maybe someone took him. Maybe he wandered off. They offered like this big reward. 8 months went by, and then somebody was found like traveling with a little boy that matched Bobby's description. Now, when they found this guy, he claimed, this is not Bobby. His name is Bruce Anderson. His mom gave him to me.
Right.
Okay, so that's suspicious right there.
Right.
So everyone was like, okay, why is this old man randomly just traveling with a little boy? And his story was, the mom gave him to me. And no one could find the mom for a while. And so the police take him, saying this story is weird, and they have the Dunbars come in and look at the little boy. It's been 8 months now, and they were like, kind of looks like him. it must be him. You know, they're so, I mean, listen, the idea of losing a child, I think they just wanted it to be him. So they're like, you know what, it has to be him, Well, suddenly, this kid's mom, actual mom, she comes into the case, and her name is Julia. She's very poor. She's got other little kids. She's saying, no, that's my kid. I didn't give him to this man. I said he could go on a trip with him, and he just took him. And I had, well, again, it's 1912. Yeah. She was overwhelmed with her other children. She's very poor. She doesn't have a husband, right? And she knew this guy who worked on the land by her. And he was just like, I'll take him on a day trip. Perfect. I could use the time, you know? And then he just left with him for almost a year or so. Okay. So it had been like a year since she had seen her baby. Yeah. So now they're like, okay, well, if this is your baby, look at him and you'll recognize him and he'll recognize you. Well, this little kid has been gone from his mom for so long. He doesn't know what. He doesn't react to her. He doesn't react to the Dunbars either. And Julia, she has a moment of hesitation where, I don't know, I think that's him. And because she didn't immediately recognize him as hers, the police were like, it's not yours. And so they went through this whole case. They think they even went to court. And of course, she had no lawyer. She had no money for a lawyer. So the Dunbars won.
And they got this kid.
He grew up Bobby Dunbar. Now, so it was 1912. In the early 2000s, people from the family started wondering about this story and wondering, are we really Dunbars? Yeah. So, Bobby Dunbar's granddaughter, she began researching and decided to do DNA, but like kind of under the radar because there were other people in the family who absolutely did not want it. Well, turns out he is not Bobby Dunbar. And so, I mean, they did this after he had passed and everything, but it was just a crazy story from start to finish. If you're interested in it, I would go check out that episode on Morbid. But it was just really sad because it was just an example of how, because his real mom was poor and, you know, didn't have a lot going on for her, that she lost her child. And they say that, like, this woman fought to the day she died, like, trying to get him, trying to, like, have some sort of communication between the family. But I think the way the story ended is that once they realized that he was not Bobby Dunbar, some of his descendants are in touch with the real family now, and they're trying to mend those fences. But it was a crazy story. So it makes me wonder if Rachel Hawkins had heard about that story and, you know, changed it a little bit, because it was just as wild. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. So that's crazy. So the realization that she is not Ruby, that was like the big first twist.
And the other interesting thing with that is she tells Camden.
Yes. Before he goes to college or while he's in college.
He's like a teenager.
Yeah. And she lets him in on it, like, so you know that they're going to come after you, but I've got it taken care of.
Yeah. And Camden goes to college and, like, he wants to get out, and he just sees this house suffocating everyone. Yeah. So then another big twist comes between Camden and Ruby, and that's the fact that Camden did not kill Ruby, but he did not stop her death. Yes. So he goes into her room one night in college or just out of college.
I think he was like just out of college.
And finds that she had essentially overdosed on, I cannot remember what she was taking.
But she did it on purpose.
Yes. And she tells him, you have two choices. You can call 911 and get me some help and show that you're a great person, essentially. Or you can do nothing and just prove that you are truly McTavish. Woo! And so he unplugs the phone and sits there while she dies.
And I think he describes that, like, she has this face of, like, I didn't think you were going to do that. Yeah.
Like,
she wasn't counting on that.
And it's interesting because throughout the interactions in the middle of the story, Ben does hint that he thinks Cam has something to do with Ruby's death. Yeah. So Ben was on that trail. But Cam leaves the house, he has his alibi, and just rides it out. Yep.
Then the next big twist is that you find out Jules, Cam's wife, has been communicating or had been communicating with Ruby before she passed.
Yeah.
And these letters, like, she's got letters too.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly you're like, oh, whoa, wait a second. When she met Cam, she knew who he was.
Yes. It was an intentional, not like setup, but like pursued him,
mm-hmm.
knew who he was,
mm-hmm.
had contact with Ruby,
mm-hmm.
and they had been married for like a long time by the time they went back to North Carolina. Like, Jules was playing the long game.
But she actually fell in love with him.
Yeah.
But she was pursuing him because she knew who he was,
mm-hmm.
and she knew about the McTavish estate. And so she knew that eventually the possibility of them getting to that house was very real.
And Ruby wanted that. She wanted Jules to be able to like push him back
mm-hmm.
to the estate.
So at first when you're reading this and you find this out, you're like, oh, you feel bad for Cam, because here he is thinking that he's got this like down-to-earth wife who really doesn't care about the money
mm-hmm.
and is like his source of, I don't know, just normalcy, when this was kind of always the plan, was to get him back to this house that he does not want to be in.
Yeah.
And then an even bigger twist comes.
So you learn that Ruby had eventually pursued her sister or her sister's daughter. I can't remember.
It was her sister.
Her real sister.
Yes.
The Darnell
but
sister.
I think the real sister had passed.
So it was like
it was her daughter. So
daughter
it was
and
her niece.
Yeah, her niece and
her niece's daughter.
Yes. So she goes, finds them in Florida.
I think so. Yeah.
And not like well off.
They're like living in a trailer or something.
Yeah, and she's like explains who she is. The niece kind of like knew who she was.
Yeah, she was like, Mom always wondered when you were coming back.
Yeah, and Ruby wants to help her,
mm-hmm.
whatever, of that nature. I don't remember if she does end up giving her money or just gives her like her card.
She gives her card because the niece is like, we've survived without you. We don't need you coming back. Like pity.
Yes.
So just kind of get on your way. But
she
leaves a card.
Yes, and then like the rest of the family, I think the niece dies, not old by any means.
Yeah.
Like something happens, the niece dies, and her daughter goes through her stuff after her death and finds this card. Mm-hmm. And that's how, she gets in contact with this woman, which ends up, that was Jules.
Yes. So Jules is Ruby's
great niece, I think.
Or her niece once removed. I don't know, but they're family. And once Ruby finds that out, they meet and they make this plan. And she's like, you would be great for my son.
Yep.
And this is how I make
God
good.
Was adopted.
Yeah, and she's like, and this is how I make good on my real family.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to get you taken care of. And it's so wild.
It's like Ruby wanted Cam to live well and have happiness, but she also knew who her real family was, and they never accepted the money from the start.
Yeah.
And she wanted to like them, and it's just like, it's interesting because Ruby's so manipulative and like killed all of her husbands, but she was like, had really good intent.
Yeah.
Like,
I think she sees something of herself in Jules.
Yeah.
And she likes that for Cam, which is kind of a little like Bates Motel type thing here.
Yeah.
But, God help me, I loved it.
Yeah. And then it all goes up in flames.
Yeah, that's wild too.
Literally.
It literally goes up in flames. I don't remember what the catalyst is, but
Ben and Jules have a confrontation in the office in the estate.
Oh, he figures out
Jules' involvement. And Ben's about to just not literally, but he's about to just blow this thing off the rails. Mm-hmm. And someone hits someone on the head. Oh, Nellie dies at one point before the fire. Yeah. I forgot about that. No offense, Nellie.
Did Ben kill her? Or did she just
She dies of a heart attack.
Yeah, I think Ben killed her.
So anyway, Nellie's gone at this point.
Yeah, she's out of the picture, so now it's just the two youngins.
And it's like Jules and Ben have this confrontation in the office. I think one of them gets hit in the head with something happens, and then like a fire starts. And I think she might have hit Ben in the head.
I think so.
The fire starts. He's knocked out. She gets Cam. God, maybe Cam's not there. I don't even remember.
I think Cam wasn't there. I think this is the scene where he goes to see his real mother. He doesn't talk to her, but he knows where she works at a school or something. Yeah. And he just kind of sees her.
Yeah.
And is thinking about like how he wants to donate money to that woman.
There's a lot of
things happening.
And Libby, I picture Libby like with headphones in, just like in the house.
She's making a TikTok.
Yeah, I don't know what Libby's doing at this point. And so Ben is, I think, knocked out. It might be wrong.
I think so.
Libby, I like to think, is just headphones and has no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
So Jules gets herself out of there.
Yeah.
House burns down, kills both of them. Camden comes back like, what the happened?
Yeah.
And you're just like, what?
Correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been a little bit since I read this. Doesn't she tells him everything?
Yeah, but there's also...
because I know at one point, either she tells him or she didn't tell him everything, but he knows already. I think that's what it was. He figures it out too, but he never says anything because he loves her, and he's like, you know what, I've got secrets too, and we're just gonna ride this thing.
Yes.
But they save, see this picture in the corner there? They talk about this picture of Ruby being painted.
Yes, and when
they save that picture.
They save the picture. When the house burns down, there's something behind the picture. I can't remember.
I think it was another letter to Ruby. There was something in there for from Ruby to Jules, I think. Because she saves it and they read it.
Oh yeah, I couldn't figure out where Ruby had cut it out, much less hidden it, but I knew it had her handiwork. I recognized her elegant spidery script, the blank space alongside the photo. So it's like there's something, they cut a slit in the back of Ruby's portrait to hide her letters. So that's how she finds it, because she hides the letters back there. As I shoved the letters inside, my fingers had brushed a crinkled piece of newsprint. When I pulled it out, it was yellowed with age, back from the 87.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Article had been carefully clipped out. Some piece from a small town, Iowa, called Bishop. The faded color photo. Oh my God! Faded color photo showing people lined up, a flag bedecked street, or blah 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 blah. I couldn't realize where Ruby had cut it out. I recognized her elegant, and it's like got all these initials and then a list of states and dates, and then she realizes. Oh wait, maybe I don't remember this. She realized it looked exactly like now. The older woman at her side, her mother, according to the caption, was taller, hair twisted and updo. I stared at the picture for a long time, thinking back through everything I'd read about baby Ruby. Oh, she thinks that's the real baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
Whew.
So in the end, Jules gets everything she wants.
In the end, everyone's dead except Camden and Jules.
Yeah, she gets everything. I think she's pregnant at that point. I think she's having a baby. They have a beautiful house.
And they understand what each other has done
and
to
they're
get
okay
that,
with it.
And they're fine with it.
Yeah, they belong together.
Which raises a lot of questions.
Yes.
Here's my question.
Okay.
Is Jules a bad person? Or is she a good person with bad intentions and her moral got a little ooh at some points?
Is Jules a bad person? Well, I think it's gray. I don't think it's that black or white.
Yeah.
Because you could say not a great person for actively pursuing someone just because they have money.
Mm-hmm.
You know nothing about this guy or what he's going to be like. So I'm curious to know, had he been, I don't know, a jerk or a different type of personality, gave her the ick, would she have married him and stayed in for the long haul?
Yeah.
Or was it always, I've got my eye on the prize?
Which is wild because Jules gets everything she's ever wanted.
Yeah.
And actually does love him.
Yes. Because the way she talks about him in the book, she cares about him.
I kind of hate that for her.
Why?
Like, what's her daughter gonna be like? Is this just like a cycle?
Ruby. She's gonna be just like Ruby.
Oh my god. Anyway. What was another one that I had that I was... Oh, I like this one. So, this obviously goes off of Cam and, like, shedding the past and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Which I'll be curious to see what you say. Do you think it is possible to completely rid yourself of your past, like Cam tries to do?
No.
Yeah.
No, I think you can never rid yourself of your past. You just have to accept it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only way to move on from your past. But I truly believe it colors you.
I don't think Cam ever accepted his past. I think everything just was dealt with because everyone just died.
Yeah.
And he just was like, well,
yeah,
done with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think at some point they are probably going to have some problems in their relationship, not because of, like, them, so. But because of the things that, like, Jules didn't, well, she kind of did kill people, right? They both did the murder.
They need to find a really good therapist.
They really do, because at some point it will blow up on them. Unless they are psychopaths. And it doesn't bother them, what they did. Because think about it, I'm sure he feels bad he let Ruby die. But then he knows that Ruby killed 4 men before him.
True. But I also just realized, because I was like scrolling, I flipped through that. He not only sits by, but he aids in her death. He does put the pillow over her face.
Yeah. That's right.
Gently enough that it doesn't raise
to like quickly like
concerns.
Let's move this on. Yeah.
I don't know.
And he had to, first of all, how do you even, I don't know the proper way to put a pillow over someone's face so that no one's tipped off that that's what I did.
It confuses me because you see in the movies, it's like their hands are on the sides of the pillow. Like when
but I think there's
you'd be able to get your...
But I think there's a certain way...
That doesn't show the...
Yeah, that they suffocated because... That would be an obvious. I don't know.
If you know, don't tell us.
Yeah. Don't tell us.
We don't need a paper trail.
Don't need to know.
If anything ever happens.
I'm not looking to do this.
Okay, my last question.
Okay.
Is nature versus nurture in this book because you have so many people who are not blood related. How do you think the book reflected both, or did you think one stood out more than the other in this?
I guess it's all nurture.
That's what I think too.
Because Cam, had he grown up with the mom who couldn't afford him, probably would still be a very intelligent young man, but would have a completely different life.
He wouldn't be a murderer.
He wouldn't have murdered anyone. He wouldn't have wanted to be rid of certain things, right? And then...
Ruby.
But then think about Jules. The people before her didn't want anything to do with the McTavish money, mainly because it was like blood money.
Yeah.
And yet here she is, like...
But Ruby is Jules' blood relative, and they reflect each other so much.
They do, without having grown up around each other.
But I think the Cam factor, and the fact that Ruby was not a McTavish.
Yeah.
And was she her own person? Yes, but did she still fall into that wealth and that status and all of that? Absolutely.
I guess it's both. You know, they've done so many studies on like twins who grow up in completely different worlds, and they still have a lot of similarities because
But Parent Trap. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Yes, that's where I get all of my research about twins. You just can't change them. They're twins. That's that. But no, I think it's definitely both. But gosh, I don't know. Now I'm starting to think about like you know how like some people grow up with really crappy lives, a lot of trauma, but they end up being good people. Whereas sometimes they end up becoming serial killers, and it's like, what stopped one from the other?
Yeah,
I don't know, because they come from the both the same set of circumstances, but there's something about them that makes them go separate ways. I don't know. I think there's always going to be a mystery of life.
I think it does have a combination, but I do think nurture, just because if you look at the characters, you've got Ruby on the nurture side, more so I think, and you've got Cam on the nurture side.
Yeah.
I do think he's a decent person deep down, but...
Yeah, but when Ruby was brought up by a father who was willing to pay for a child he knew was not his.
Yeah.
And groom her in such a way that he made a lot of her indiscretions disappear. So that's how she was groomed to be.
Yeah.
I don't know. Wow.
I think they're interesting questions, which honestly, now that I think about it, I think there are some discussion questions back here which I didn't look at, but these are too specific.
Oh, gotcha.
I was curious what your take was on some of these. But yeah, I mean, it's a loaded plot twist, but I think for me, and now I forgot, I think I rated it 4 stars. I think it was because, everything always happens at the end of the book. Everything snowballs. I read this very quickly. I do remember that.
Yeah, me too. I went through it fast.
But I also think I went through it because you had Cam's point of view, Jules' point of view, you had the letters. It pushed you along. Yeah. It wasn't because I was dying to turn the page for a good chunk of it until the end, and then I was cruising. Yeah. Because that's, when all the meaty stuff is happening. I gave it 3 stars. And it's not a negative 3 stars. It was just a 3 stars of, I enjoyed it, but it didn't rock my socks. Yeah. And the fact that all the good stuff was at the end, which most of the time, even in our fantasy books, a lot of it amps up at the end. Yeah. It's just, it didn't wow me. Now, I did recommend this to my mom. I think it would wow her. I think she would really like it because it's more of her style. Yeah. I enjoyed it. I would recommend, if you like mysteries, to pick this one up as well. But I'm not singing about it. And that's the thing, if I'm with people and they're talking about I'll have a friend and they'll text me every once in a while and be like, hey, I just read this book, what do you, I don't think this would ever pop to the front of my mind. Yeah. If you have time, it's a good read. I was just going to look up
the Goodreads.
Yes.
I love when you do that.
Except, why is that so small? Okay. So on Goodreads. This one has a 3.85. Which is pretty decent for a mystery. Yeah. I feel if a mystery gets over 4 stars, I'm yeah. Well, but then a fantasy, and they're all 5 stars.
I think what's driving this is Ruby's letters, and I think people like her. Yeah. I know really the main people are Cam and Jules because they're the living ones going through the action, but what really drives this whole novel is Ruby.
Which is interesting because so it looks like when I'm looking at Rachel Hawkins, she used to do, I'm just going to make a judgment call here. Okay. And say that she did some YA stuff. Oh, okay. They just kind of look YA. And then in 2021 came out with The Wife Upstairs, and since that one has done 4 mysteries. Okay. So between her 4 mysteries, this is the highest rated one. It is the most recent, but it is the highest rated.
Interesting.
The Wife Upstairs I read, Reckless Girls I read, and The Heiress I read.
Really? Yeah. Did you like the Wife Upstairs and the Reckless Girls?
Reckless Girls is not actually popping up into my brain right now. Okay. To be honest with you, I do think I enjoyed The Wife Upstairs. Okay. I want to say I read it a while ago, but she has another book called The Villa, which I think is on my want to read list. It has, so I'll put it in order for you. The Heiress is top rated, then The Wife Upstairs, then The Villa, then Reckless Girls.
Okay. I would give The Villa a try. I'd give her another try. I'd read another book of hers. Ooh. Yeah. I liked it enough that as an author, I think she did a good job.
Yeah.
I liked the twists. I would have liked maybe more action in the middle, more things happening, more discoveries to kind of keep me going. But it was a quick read. It was an easy read, and overall it was fun.
Yeah, I don't think there's not a lot of authors that I enjoy reading back to back because I like to, unless it's a series, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think she's a good read. She's definitely like have a long weekend. I'm sitting by the pool.
Yes.
A
good pool read.
Yeah.
For sure, this would be a great pool read.
Yeah, that's how I see it.
With a beach. I wonder if the villa would be a good pool read because summer is coming.
It is funny because the cover is very like.
Is it?
Intriguing. It's like blue with like lemons or something, like very summery.
Okay.
I do remember Reckless Girls now, and it was good. It wasn't anything crazy.
Okay.
But yeah, I do enjoy her books. I enjoy that the ones I've read so far don't have common, like I'm not gonna pick up a book and be like, okay, that's gonna follow this.
Yeah.
No offense to Frida. But I just feel like pick up one of her books.
I don't know if you can see.
Here's it's an appealing cover.
Yeah. Okay. We'll have to see what it's about. And then a dynamic female friendship and the dark secrets hidden within a luxurious Italian villa.
Yeah, there you go.
That's definitely like reading by the pool with a spritzer.
Reckless Girls is on an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and The Wife Upstairs takes place in the U.S., I want to say.
Oh, okay, and this is set in the 70s.
There you go.
Interesting. Okay.
So what's next for us? Is it...
I have no idea.
Is it Riley Sager?
We could do another mystery. Yeah.
Do the mystery.
I have started Throne of Glass. I've read 2 books. I am in the middle of another mystery right now. I'm reading The Fury. And then I've already purchased Assassin's Blade. Because as I'm reading The Fury and I'm enjoying it, my mind's already like, I want to go back to that world. I'm ready to go back to that world.
When we do Throne of Glass, because it's heavy and like you're going to get to a point where you're doing a tandem read and it's going to take some time and then you get to a book that's 1,000 pages. I think on like Fourth Wave, maybe we could sprinkle in some mysteries as we go.
Yeah.
And if I was thinking about this, if one person wants us to do a completely Fourth Wing series, the theories, like we did with ACOTAR, we could also do that.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Because I know we touched on some theories for each book, but
because there are so many right now.
But being able to just kind of encompass it all together now that we've talked about all 3.
Yeah, that would be fun. And it would be fun if somebody sent us some theories of your own. What are you thinking?
Because right now I'm going off of my brain and I'm going off of TikTok.
Yes. A friend of mine sent me a theory, and I'm not going to get into it, but that in the 2 previous books, so Fourth Wing and Iron Flames, there are examples that Imogene has already wiped her mind before.
I've seen that theory.
And so that's something that I would like to investigate and see like what, because there's like a TikTok or something and I saw like certain pages and like, okay, I'm going to have to go back and read and really see like, what do you think that
we could do that,
erased from her memory before. So that could be fun.
Yeah. You'll also have to bear with us because I'm in all black today, so it's probably hard to tell, but I'm very close to being ready to pop.
Baby's
so
coming, and so baby takes precedent over everything else.
We may hit a lull at one point. There may be. My husband the other day was like, "Is Tara just gonna come over and do solo episodes on the couch because we can't like ruin the background?" I was like, "Oh my god!"
Or you're just gonna have a baby on your boob while we talk about books.
But anyway, yeah, we could do Riley Sager next because I'm almost done with that. So.
Okay, cool. All right, so we're gonna do one more mystery next, and then we'll make a schedule and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
And like I said, if baby's coming, baby's coming. But what we could do is you can make like quick like little Instagram videos, whatever, of like updating of what we're reading on, and then just ask for tips and suggestions and stuff. But
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Mommy comes first. Baby comes first. Everything goes around that. It's just how it is.
So be flexible with us, all 10 listeners.
Wait a second, we have 13 Spotify subscribers.
I'm sorry, 13.
And 5 on YouTube.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, so we're kind of coming up there in the world.
I'm sorry, all 13 of you, be patient.
Yes, and she's going to pop out a little bougie baby. Well, thanks for joining us, and stick with us and keep reading.
Yeah, and if you've read Riley Sager, The House Across the Lake, that's coming up next.
Yes.
So if you haven't, maybe don't listen to that episode.
Or get to reading.
All right.
See ya.